Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers. Right?
No judging.
Yeah.
No judging.
The millennials are really changing that.
Is charm. No.
All success begins with desire.
I feel like I'm on fire right now.
OMG, baby, tell them.
Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers. Justin Fox, Shaunvir, Sidhu. Shaunvir, thank you very much for joining me on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Glad to be here and chat with you. I know this is a long time in the making, so I'm thrilled.
Awesome. So I mean, we've obviously known each other, I guess now over a year, about a year and a half. Worked together a little bit. You helped out with some of this a project we had with backers back about a year ago at this point, almost a year and a bit ago. So I'll do a quick intro. Let's jump into talk a little bit about you. We can talk about a whole bunch of things. Obviously, we were just commenting on the darkness of your wall. So we'll get into, maybe I'd like to know why, or what your thoughts are on why you'd want it to be the dark or the darker colors. So maybe some insight. But anyways, I'll just do a quick. So you're from Saskatchewan, born and raised, Ivy grad. Since with McKinsey and Inovia. You're a serial entrepreneur whose business passions are predictive AI, startups, and macroeconomics. Currently, you run a growth consultancy that works with seed and Series A stage startups who are funded by some of the world's premier investors like ... No, I'm just kidding. We'll say it. Y Combinator, Slow Ventures. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot of ways that businesses can get funding. Backers is not the only game in town. Actually, I think we're revolutionizing the game, but there are games in town that currently exist and do well for some of the founders that go through them. So your consultancy is also spinning out, which we'll talk, and I love the color coordination there. The Slayer app, which we'll talk a little bit about, which you guys are rolling out new products. Sort of like a copy, a AI-based copy creator. Does that make sense? And by copy, people to understand is like the actual content on various mediums, whether it's email, headlines. I think is one that you guys focus on, content on a site. But I'm gonna throw it to you, Shaunvir. Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about where you want to go with this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. We'll start with Slayer briefly. So it's all about predicting engagement before you post. Okay. So there's about 20 plus. No, you were pretty close, because there's 20 plus tools out there now that'll generate copy for you. Okay. And it's good. It looks and reads like human copy. Right. The issue is you don't really know if it's going to be engaging. Okay. There's no way to A/B test on social media. A/B testing on ads is expensive. So this is a way to basically predict, if you're backers, for instance, and you want to target entrepreneurs, you can predict the engagement of your ads, of your website through Slayer. A famous Ogilvy quote, who's one of the masters of advertising, is, 4 out of 5 people only read the headline. So that's basically 80% of your marketing dollar right there. So we really help you optimize that 80%. And now we can talk about the wall, man. If you in the wall.
About the what? About what? The wow?
The wall. The
wall. No, yeah. Well, just before we get to the wall. So interesting. So I mean, we've obviously talked about. We're gonna try it out, test it out for backers, and do a bunch of cool things. And I'd love to maybe at some point, maybe we can I could probably facilitate you sharing your screen. I don't know if we've set this call up for that, but maybe another call we could get back on and maybe walk people through how Slayer works, and maybe do a demo of me setting it up. So that's something we could talk about in the next couple of days. But so it's really cool to talk about, 4 to 5, 80% of your audience is only looking at the headline. So I know we've talked about like email, the what do you call it? The
subject line.
The subject line, right? So essentially the headline of the email, right, is key, obviously. And so let's talk a little bit about how the AI and how you're able to avoid split testing before you even get to split testing, right? I'm assuming that's what the AI is giving, predictive analysis of which headlines or subject lines are going to resonate, I think would be the word maybe, or hit home with your target
Convert.
audience, right? Yeah, whoever you're trying to, so in our case it would be entrepreneurs or small business owners or people looking for funding. What is a tagline that's going to get them to click through and say, hey, you know what, this backers platform is a pretty cool option to raise funds for my business. Give us sort of how that, I don't want the AI algorithms, don't give us all the details, but give us sort of like, what your thought process was to get to that. And I know you've mentioned you've taken lots of data from lots of places, but how did you kind of get to that point?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The inception of Slayer really came from the exception of my growth consultancy. And that came out of being in venture capital for a little while, and there's lots of problems with that, and that's why I think backers is a fantastic idea. One of the biggest problems I think with venture funding is that there's not really enough support and community around these startups so that they can make the right sort of basic decisions. So one of the major decisions and pain points that I saw a lot of great startups make is, you've established your product, you have some initial traction and product market fit, and now you need to scale that, and now you need to start hiring out a team. Well, a lot of people ended up making really, really bad hires. And a big issue with that, you can say, okay, big deal. Well, in the venture capital funded world, another downside, if you spend 6 months wasting your time as a company, you miss your next funding round. And that just has disastrous kind of dominoing consequences throughout your company. And I saw that happen. I saw a lot of kind of bad endings. And I thought, in the typical startup way, there has to be a better way to do this. And so I founded a growth consultancy that was basically around, hey, providing very, very transparent, good, reliable sales service to seed and Series A startups. And the biggest problem we had as a consultancy is basically maintaining top of funnel, maintaining leads, actually helping these startups bring in leads. And we had to learn many different markets at once, like all marketing agencies do with their clients. And so we actually built Slayer as an internal tool so that we could predict, hey, will our emails hit before we send them? Will these ads land, before we actually spend money on them? Because otherwise we're in trouble with the client at the end of the day, right? And so, we basically train Slayer the way you train any AI. You show it pictures of a cat, and then you show it another picture, and you say, hey, is this a cat? And it kind of learns from the other pictures that it's seen to identify, is this a cat or not? We basically created a pipeline and algorithm to do that for natural language in terms of what a sentence looks like, how it's structured, what are the words being used, what is the length of the sentence. And we can predict, and we've done lots of testing with 80% plus accuracy, whether or not text is going to be successful or not. We've had companies go on the front page of Wall Street Bets, on the front page of multiple different social media communities, just as a result of using changes to headlines. And we found that issue, when you're a founder, you can only wear so many hats, right? There's only so much that you can do. It's not really that, hey, this is a failing that you're not amazing at writing emails or amazing at writing ad copy. That's typically not a skill that even an investor would think to narrow down, because theoretically you should be able to get that skill from others. But we've even seen professional copywriters, professional email writers really like using our product because it's a form of quality control for them. It gives them a lot of peace of mind with their clients that, hey, this campaign is actually going to land. And so we're actually looking now at how do we serve different people even better. And a big finding that we realized was that who you're targeting matters the most. It sounds really obvious, but if you're targeting entrepreneurs, that's a very different language and voice than if you're targeting sneakerheads. And so we had to build models with that in mind. But the result has been fantastic. The teams, even surprised ourselves in terms of the results that we've gotten. And, so it's been a really interesting journey, but the goal has always been, how do we make it easier and easier for great businesses to grow? We're kind of in the golden age of startups right now. So, we really just want to get on that train and help great businesses actually, go viral, reach the people that they need to be reaching.
Perfect. So just quick question. So it's not based on an 80s hairband.
Yeah,
Just
no,
kidding.
luckily,
No.
the technical,
80% of your audience doesn't know that reference, right? That's
yeah. Luckily, our audience skews a bit younger.
yeah.
Well, it's an iconic logo, of course, Slayer, the rock band. But we went with SlayerAI.com is the full name of the company for people who do want to check it out. SlayerAI.com.
Yeah.
We'll see where we go with the rock band influences. I actually did do a lot of drumming growing up.
I was kidding around, but yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll get a band together for the company holiday party.
There you go. That's awesome. Okay, cool. So Slayer, yeah, we'll use it. I think, yeah, maybe we should in the next couple days, maybe we could do a quick little walkthrough of like me using it. You could guide me through it. We could do a live stream. Do you want to do that here? I'm kind of getting more comfortable with Zoom and stuff. I could walk through, sign up, and kind of go through a process. I've got SlayerAI.com open. Do you want to try and do that? Just
if
do
you,
a live demo walkthrough?
Yeah. We can talk about some some interesting stuff while you're doing that as well here. I would not mind at all. That would be.
Let's see how. Let me see. Let's see what we can
You're
do.
asking me. You're asking me if I want to say no to another user on my product.
Yeah.
There's no world where I say no.
No world where you say no. Exactly. So I'm on your.
So
I'm
just
on
hit
your app.
login.
So this is what you were talking about, right? 4 to 5 people only
Yeah.
read the headline. That's 80% of your marketing dollar right there, right? So
Yeah.
just kind of never worry about copy. It's kind of.
Yeah.
So let's do login.
You want to hit login, yeah, and that
Okay.
should take you. Yeah, you want to hit sign up.
Right.
Yeah. There you go.
Is it going to show my password to the whole world?
It won't. You're good, man.
All right.
So cybersecurity has been a big thing. I don't know if you've been following this log4j stuff, but the internet is pretty wild. You might have to check. So you should be able to log in now.
Email user with this email already exists.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you should be able to log in with that password. You may have to confirm your email here. Speaking of security.
Really, all good. No, I mean and let me talk about this. No active account found with the German credentials.
Yeah, you've got to go into your email and
password
confirm.
Maybe I need to get a reset. So it's interesting. This is something that and what this is about. This show is for entrepreneurs, right? So one of the things that we've encountered and I've encountered with backers and our platform, and maybe it's kind of evidenced by this, is that the whole fact that essentially, I'll stop the share here while I go and
it wants you to wants you to verify your email account. It wants you to verify your email account before it'll let you log in.
That's what I'm doing. But so the interesting is authentication, right? This is something that I'll be truthful, having not built sort of too many, I would say, applications. I've used more things along the lines of existing like a WordPress and stuff like that, where they have existing kind of like authentication and authorization functionality built into them. I didn't realize how difficult, if you will, how difficult auth was. It's right, and it's there's so much out there that so let's share this again. There's so much out there. It's crazy to see just what is out there, right? So,
Right.
um,
And so much of it, like you just saw, right? We don't want someone to just go on and say, oh
Well,
yeah,
that's-
justinatbackers.ca,
yeah.
and then be able to log in
of
until
course.
we actually can verify, hey, is this the right email?
Yeah.
But
Well, it's
there's-
not just
there's-
that. It's not the security front. It's more the integration and how difficult it is to integrate these types of like seemingly. I mean, I'm not a full on. I play a developer on TV as a, you know, I'm not a developer. I only play one on TV, but it just seems like there's so much to it. There's so many layers, so many like integrations, so many different directions you can go where you can get out of the box kind of like third party like Auth, Fusion Auth, and those, or you know, all the way to the other end of the spectrum where you're building it out yourself. And you know, out of curiosity, what do you guys use for your authentication?
So we built a lot of it out ourselves because we do want full control of user accounts in terms of, you know, what are, and it's interesting to say, what is all this? There's a lot of complications at the back end. What are the different permissions? How do you want billing to work? You know, how do you want interactivity to work for different users on the app?
Yeah.
But you know, there's as simple as just, hey, click this button, log in with Facebook now, right? As well.
Well, that's
so,
exactly.
So you're in Slayer now. So there's a little drop down menu. This is the main app where it says select a model. You want to basically select who you're targeting, so entrepreneurs, and then you enter in your copy and you click process. So you can say, hey, try out this great funding portal or something, right?
So it's going to take the words almost that I've used and put together something?
It's going to score your headline out of 100 to see how engaging it is. Yeah,
okay,
to see how engaging it's going to be.
Let's see. Let's do this. Let's see. I'm going to literally just copy this from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's not where I was. It's over here.
Yeah.
Of course it doesn't.
Yeah.
Let's see what it says here.
You gotta hit process.
30.
Just doesn't like it. So you can turn permutations on in the top right there as well.
Let's see what Tunity. 30, eh?
Yeah, it's so try turning on permutations because that'll give you suggestions.
Huh. How about this one? These are all the ones we're going to be testing out in A/B testing.
This is awesome, man. No, so this is Slayer at work, right? We had a client who's like, "Oh, I got 8 out of 100. What should I do?" I was like, "You probably should run that campaign then."
Entrepreneurs won. There you go. That's better.
Yeah,
at least 51.
That's significantly better.
Average.
Right?
This text is predicted to perform about the same as your average metrics to this audience. Okay.
Yeah.
So
try something like startups wanted. Oh yeah, get funding. That's great. That's great.
Like a combination of the two.
Yeah.
This will be 80. Nope. Oh, same. So the get funding. Process time.
Destin, try clicking permutations in the top right.
Oh,
there.
right here. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and it'll take a few extra seconds, but it'll try to generate some suggestions for you as well here. So it's taking some extra time. It wasn't able to beat the original score there, you know.
Slayer score. So these are worse though than.
Yeah, worse than what you. So it's trying to come up with suggestions and trying to beat that high score there. So yeah, you can really, you know, like I said, you can test unlimited copy in this environment. What once would have taken months and months.
Just click here to get funding. Yeah.
Right. What would have taken months and months now you can do it in an hour. Like you're doing it right now, like a couple of minutes, right? People are seeing weeks of email testing happening before their eyes.
Cryptocurrency.
It didn't like that one.
Didn't like that one. How about this is fun actually. This is like you remember those SEO tools where you could find like how widely used the words are,
right?
Oh, there's one. Crypto shares, all one word.
Right. So the model likes the word startup a lot compared to the word entrepreneur, oddly enough.
With a dash, no dash. I always wonder, like, what is, in your opinion, is it start up like this, or is it start up?
I think it's all one word at this point, though I think grammatically, I think my grammar friends might disagree, you know. Startup is one word.
Startups wanted. Let's see what happens there. Whoa, so like startups better than entrepreneurs. Yeah, so this is, it's all sort of the same. Oh, it's just giving. So
yeah, it's only two words. Yeah, it's only two words to play with. But yeah, you can put kind of full headlines.
Your startup funded. Now, let's see.
There you go. Even better.
Start your startup now. Get your startup capitalized now. Nope. Fund your startup now. Oh, there you go. Fund your startup now. Let's see what comes from there. So this is kind of like the iteration version of it. So let's see if I can get better than 68. That'll be 73, I think.
That should be a 73, yeah, and it's going to try to beat 73.
Now fund your startup is 83.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get better than now fund your startup 83. So wow, are we having fun yet? Are we having fun yet?
Yeah, no, it's actually so cool to see people use it. People have been using it in the most surprising ways.
Now fund your startup.
You know, we have people who, we have a food company who's using it that actually doesn't know what their menu items are going to be, and they use the food model to test menu items. They'll like input their menu item, and they'll have the one that's the best, you know, most engaging. It's really, really fun.
Let's see. I don't know why I'm writing a dessert recipe.
So you got to change the model there from entrepreneur to food. But yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, to the the target audience.
Food. Yeah, exactly. I mean, pretty good.
I got cherry flavored cherry chocolate cheesecake.
Is that your favorite flavor of cheesecake, by the way?
I don't know.
Are you a cherry chocolate guy?
I don't know. I don't know.
No. Do you have a favorite dessert flavor?
Yeah, I like lemon meringue. Actually, key lime pie.
That's an aficionado's answer, because there really is a big difference between good and bad key lime pie.
Yeah.
In my mind, at least the good stuff really hits you.
Delicious key lime pie. Ooh, 68.
Oh,
anyways,
not bad.
Key lime pie, simply delicious. Ooh, key lime pie is the most delicious pie. So if I put that in as my headline, I get people talking about it, I guess, right?
Yeah, so you can kind of see where some of the model's logic is coming from. I mean, there's always a mystery with AI because you don't 100% know what the model is doing or how it's trained, but you can see some of the logic there. Like, you're presenting an opinion, and people are much more likely to engage with an opinion, at least nowadays, right? We see this especially with, you know, cryptocurrency models, or even in fields of finance. If you're talking about a stock, if you're not presenting an opinion, nobody really wants to hear what you have to say about that stock, right?
Yeah, exactly. So interesting. I love it. I love the score. I mean, with the backers platform, we're in the process of building out completely different use case, but an AI essentially issuer onboarding, which will give them a score, sort of predictive and prescriptive, kind of like what you've got there, where it'll pump out ideas that they need to do to improve their chances of success, and then obviously predicting what their chances of success are. So literally, like, almost the same as what you've got there, just more aligned with how likely they are to succeed at raising capital on the backers platform. So super cool, super awesome. So out of curiosity, from a entrepreneurs to entrepreneur, how many developers do you have, or did it take to get this sort of put together, or how long, or what sort of timeline did it take to get this kind of? I know we've talked about it probably been a few months
Yeah.
at least, but give me sort of your timelines.
So it took a long time. The original product did not look anything like what you see today. We weren't entirely sure what the use case would be. We joke that we initially wanted to have a tagline of, spell check for impact, not grammar. And though we're sort of like that, we're still like a long ways. We've come a long ways from there. In terms of number of developers, it's been about 3, and that's been different at different times.
Right.
Where I think the correct way to build product these days is to have someone who can kind of take the lead, take ownership of everything. But you should by all means take advantage of this, remote work, freelancing world that we have. There's some really, really brilliant talent that you can bring on, not necessarily at a full-time
Right.
price.
Without breaking
and so
the bank too, right? Obviously.
Yeah, and so we certainly took advantage of that, or leaned on expertise that we didn't have in house and didn't need for more than a couple of months. That's probably the better way to think about that. Is okay, we have something to do. We need an expert for this. The need for this expert kind of expires in a couple of months, and so we did have some people come in there, but it did take about a year to get to this point, from ideation, initial development, building a data infrastructure and pipeline. There's quite a bit. You click process with permutations, it takes several seconds. There's millions and millions of kind of different computing, things firing off, and computations happening to actually deliver that end product. And it's really amazing. You talk about predictive AI with backers. The promise of that is so huge, and I think it's almost difficult to comprehend, because it just enables people to make better decisions, whether it's, hey, this is the best email to send, or this is the best copy for my website, or hey, this is a business that is going to be very likely to succeed or not likely to succeed. That's you talk about the importance of failing fast. I've had ventures that didn't succeed. It's best when they don't succeed very, very quickly, right? And AI is going to help people make those decisions. I talk about, hey, someone didn't send something out because it scored an 8 out of 100. That's good, right? That's a bad decision saved. Someone could be using the backers AI who may not have confidence as an entrepreneur, and all of a sudden it's saying, hey, this has a high chance of success, right? That kind of stuff is just going to drive good for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting point you made about fail fast, and it was actually, before you even got to that point, I was kind of concocting a question, because this is zero script. That's the whole point of One Take. It's just us having a conversation, kind of seeing where it goes. But you mentioned that it took a long time. It took a year, roughly, or give or take. You obviously work with as a consultant in sort of that that with growth, trying to create growth in these early stage startups. What would you say, or what do you say to entrepreneurs who at various stages, and I don't want to preface it too much, I want to hear your thoughts, what do you say to them when they're going through the process around, I'll just use the context of, say, patience, right? Like I have some answers, but what are your thoughts on, entrepreneurs of today and wanting it all now, and like the concept of patience and understanding that things do take time potentially, and as much as you want it done immediately and you get better at it, and obviously things do come quicker. What is your take on all of that?
Yeah, no, I think it is a good point, because there's a couple of phenomenons that have happened in the last couple of years that kind of drive this, call it get rich quick mentality.
Right.
One, it's easier than ever to start a business. This is a good thing, right? We've seen, and you look at the numbers, the number of new business applications in the last year is just at tremendous levels. Two, it's easier to market your business than ever, in terms of Facebook's ad platform, Google's ad platform, all sorts of different marketing channels that exist social media, organic, inorganic, email, LinkedIn, you name it, it's easy for anyone to just sit at home with an internet connection and access the world.
Right.
And so you do have situations where if you have the right product market fit, if you have built product in a scalable way, you can get tremendous reach extremely quickly. You can build value extremely, extremely quickly. However, the caveat to all that is if you have product market fit, right? And I think that's the thing that I think people rush a lot. And I think people also kind of build in silence, which is one of the worst things that you can do. I say it took us a year to build Slayer. Throughout that whole time, we were talking to potential users. We were talking to people about, hey, how would you use this? What is the value that you see in this? The value that people ended up seeing was a little bit different than our initial thinking. And so you gain tons of insights that way, so that when you do actually turn on monetization, which we haven't done yet, but we have people who, who are very collaborative with us, who we've tested price points with, and they say, yeah, no problem. You can build those sort of relationships so that when it is time to really grow, you have that foundation laid. And so it might look really, really quickly, right? There might be a story that people can tell where, oh yeah, from day one of collecting revenue to today, we grew, X million % or whatever, ridiculously impressive number. It kind of negates the fact that you have to build quite, I don't want to say slowly, but methodically, certainly. And you need to incorporate a lot of user feedback and a lot of market research into what you're doing, because it's just going to increase your chances of being successful. There's kind of this dichotomy that founders have, and it's super difficult to deal with. You need to have some level of arrogance to be a good founder, right? Because people just aren't going to tell you that they don't believe in you, right?
Yeah, all the time, all day long, every day, right?
Right. They're going to say, you can't do this. This is not going to work. Exactly. And good founders certainly have that trait. Sometimes they have way too much of it. You can think of stories about Steve Jobs being probably the most classic example here. But at the same time, you need to be able to listen to your users and customers. Nothing is ever done with only one person's insights and that one person's insights alone. You can learn a lot talking to your potential users, talking to your potential customers. And so that's a lot of what we did over the last year. And so it put us in a position where, and we're still very, very early, we're still going to learn and iterate and talk to users. The product is going to look, completely different in the next couple of months, I'm certain. It just puts us in a much better position, though, to actually go out one day and kind of start building, really, really strong revenue pipelines.
Here, you know what? I'm going to try something that I just was thinking, and that, I agree with it. Everything you just said. I joke, there's sort of like a couple to pull apart sort of what you said. There's like the overnight success that took 10 years, there's, people see just like where they're at now. But there's always that sort of like, they call it maybe the hockey stick, where you've got sort of like this, and then it's all of a sudden that sort of parabellum, or whatever you call it. What would be parabellum success? Parabola yeah. Success. Yeah. There's parabolic. That's the word.
I found it.
Let's use all our math equations or math linguistics here. Let me just. I was going to try and do something here. I'm going to do this live, and then we can see everyone that's watching. So I'm going to do a LinkedIn post from backers, and I'm just going to put your tag and hashtag backers, and I'm going to do 2 of them, and I'm going to see which one gets better. What do you think? Let's do live testing. Sure. Now fund your startup. Let's do that one.
You should put, okay, no, we're good. I was going to say you can put a link or a call to action in there too, but
no,
might as well.
Let's just go straight up Slayer. So now fund your startup was the best, or fund your startup now was 73. I'm going to go with the 2. It's kind of like
we should. Okay, yeah, they should both do. There's a good chance they'll both do about the same.
Do
right?
well. Well,
like,
73 and 80, right? Was it?
Yeah. So they're about the same.
Let's see what happens.
See.
whatever. This is what this show is one take.
Yeah. We're having
We're
fun.
we're anyway, so
There
yeah,
we go.
it's the overnight success that took 10 years. So obviously patience is somewhat of a virtue. I love the fact that you talk about having product market fit and that being one of the key probably differentiators between success and failure in business. And I mean, with backers, I mean, I'll toot our horn a little bit here, but that was one of the things that I recognized very early on with backers and the opportunity that backers presented was that a lot of companies, a lot of founders, a lot of entrepreneurs spend so much time in, I'll call it in the lab, in the the building of what they're trying. They have the idea, they see how it maybe can solve a problem for them, but they don't necessarily take it to market early on enough to get feedback, to get insight, to kind of grow that community, because when they're ready to sell it, now they have people that have watched that journey, right? And so one of the things that so we talk about reasons companies fail. Product market fit is probably the number one reason, right? Funding, there's a list of probably many reasons, but top 10, product market fit is right up there, number 1, 2. Funding, obviously leadership, there's different things there. So with backers, what people are able to do by going out and selling their idea, maybe without even a product, and going out and selling equity in the business and getting people bought into the idea, and then those people maybe being able through a Discord or some other social engagement influence, potentially not in a voting perspective, but have that insight or that input into the evolution of the company, and you get the money from them investing. That was sort of the one of the things I think is huge for backers is a business comes to us, they're able to grow their market fit, right, through investors that are their potential market, right? So everyday retail investors can invest $100 in a company very early on, like day one. Like I could incorporate today with an idea, go to market tomorrow, launch it on backers, and have 100 people invest in me $100 each, and now I've got whatever that number would be, let's say 10 grand, I think, right? 100 people at $100. Now you've got 10 grand. Now you can start the building. Now you've got 100 people that support your idea, right? Are supportive of seeing where it goes. Obviously, then you have to do something with it, and you got to kind of evolve. But at least now that idea is something. And like you said, you started out with one vision, and it's kind of veered slightly, but it's still giving value to a consumer, right? You were able to find product market fit.
And it's super interesting the way backers, right? We're able to find basically delight users, right? The one thing that all great businesses have in common is a great product, and that's really what we're trying to build. And it's great you mentioned backers as well. We're talking about always talking to users. It really creates that feedback loop where if I'm an owner in a business, I really want that business to succeed. I'm going to go out of my way almost to deliver feedback. Getting customer feedback can sometimes be quite difficult. I was talking to the founder of a startup that has thousands of users, and he's talking about the difficulty he has in actually figuring certain things out about user behavior, and it's not just about looking at logs and that kind of thing. And so it's interesting. You look at the movements in the last couple of years around, Tesla shareholders, how they kind of they want to rep Tesla. They want, and the share is almost proof of ownership, as is proof of fanaticism, right? And so if you're able to, as a business owner, incorporate and now spread out the number of shares to, instead of just one single VC investor who's going to tell you that, oh yeah, my network is great and I'll do so much work for you, and then, oh, by the way, I have 50 portfolio companies that I have to do this with as well, versus people who are actually going to be active and actively supporting you, right? And I think that makes a huge difference, especially to an early stage startup, having those additional, whether they're users, customers, whatever you want to call them, having them be investors is quite powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I use the term, and this is for all those, with whatever cover years, but fuck investors. What you really need are backers, right? We should try that on Slayer. See if you want to try that one.
Well,
let's
sure,
man, and you know
sure,
what?
man.
I just added a caveat to the post. I just put a hashtag Slayer AI after the hashtag backers, but let's go to process copy. Let's try that. I really like this thing. So let's see.
I love how much you're using it. This is great.
Let's see. Fuck investors. What you really need are backers. So obviously what that means is an investor is just somebody pure dollars and cents, zero emotion, doesn't give a shit about anything other than your EBITDA or fucking the financials of your business, and how are they going to get 10x on their money in the next 3 years, right? Could care less what the product does, the outcome. There's a lot to be said about, businesses that don't care about, you talk about social, social concerns, right? Whatever it is, whether it's, health, wellness, anything, right? The environment. So a backer, though, is more than just a financial. While it is primarily financial, because they are investing or they are supporting in one way, shape, or form, it's more, there's an emotional bond, an emotional tie. There's that feeling that they're part of the community that is supporting this venture. But anyways, should I take away the exclamation mark, or does that?
No, man, leave it in.
Play it in there, yeah.
Leave it in.
So let's see. What are we thinking? You want to take a back over under? I know you're into odds and stuff. So let's
over under what?
Yeah, over under. I'm gonna say over. I think it's gonna go higher. So I'll go maybe like over under 70.
Well, that's exactly the number I was thinking of.
Oh yeah, as the over under.
You're putting me in a tough spot. Yeah, right, the over under. Yeah,
over under. Right. Okay. I'm pretty good at odds too. I'm good odds maker. Obviously, we think in the same sort of wavelength. So over under 70. What are you gonna say?
I want to take the over, man.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna take the over too. We're gonna double down on the over. We're gonna say the house is on the under. So we're both gonna win money here. Let's see. Are we right?
Oh, nice.
Hold on. Let's see the permutations though. What do they give us in favor of?
We're gonna make the AI cuss.
Shit, you need funding, bitch. No, just kidding.
It doesn't want
investors, you need backers. What you really want are backers rather than fuckers.
I like that one too. I like that one too.
What you really
That's great, man.
What you really need are, anyways. Yeah. Oh, awesome.
I will say one of the most disheartening things, and we should caveat this by saying, there are good things that these investors do. There's
that's where they cross over to be a backer. No, that's where they cross over to be a backer, and this is the concept that we're really like. So believe me, and this is not, a lot of people say, oh, well, that you're alienating, a large swath of people. No, it's really the concept is really around the traditional sense of some random dude who knows nothing about, or guy or girl, whatever, or high net worth individual who has no real tie to something, just simply looks at it as a 10x opportunity, right? And really what we're looking at is, I believe in the next 10 years, you've got sort of this social, awareness and cognizance around all these social, problems that are happening and things that people want change around. And there's really there's no room for the, I don't care, I just want you to 10x my money, because you should care. As an investor, you should care what that business is doing. You should care what they're doing in all aspects of their business. You should care about the people. You should care about their products. And it shouldn't be just purely dollars and cents. And I think that's the context that we're going with. We don't use it. I used it a little bit I got a lot of pushback from some of our internal people because they're from the industry, right? And it's very difficult to disrupt an industry when you have people from within the industry that have influence on what you're doing, which is, again, not letting it too much out here, but has been a problem, an issue with backers, right? And the irony with backers is, if backers existed, backers probably would already exist like 2 years ago, right? Instead of having to go for traditional funding, find ways to get our audience and our message across to people who it doesn't resonate with. If we could have said to 1,000 people, hey, you can now launch on our platform and you can also put $100 into backers 2 years ago, if we could have done that, we would have been at sort of a much more advanced stage than we are now. Unfortunately, we were forced to go through the traditional, sharks can smell blood. We say banks say no, lenders want your firstborn, and sharks can smell blood kind of thought process.
I mean, it's interesting. The thing I find most disheartening about VC is that almost treatment that, okay, 90%, 95% of my portfolio is not going to make a return that I'm happy with. So, I'm just not going to give them the time of day. I think what is changing, and backers is part of this movement as well, is that, well, hey, the way that a business is actually successful is by people being, a little bit evangelical about their holdings here. And you see it in venture capital, you see it with GameStop as a great example, right? You see it with backers as a great example. Everything that Elon Musk does, right? I'm a SpaceX shareholder. That kind of stuff I'm going to push to the end of time, right? Anytime they do something interesting, I'm sending it out to everyone I know that could be a consumer of Starlink or what have you. So that becomes super powerful. And I think people are cluing in that, hey, just capital isn't enough. I think what helps is you have an economic environment where we've just printed so much capital and the availability of capital is so high. And at the same time, trust in public markets is not particularly high. And so you really do have an opportunity where, as I said earlier, it really is the golden age of startups because capital is available. The market has never been easier to reach. I was reading, Q3 numbers came out in the US, only 13% of commerce is online, 13%. And so the rising tide here is just going to be tremendous. And I just think it's just a super optimistic time to be on the internet, right? Broadly, people think of it as some established thing. It's absolutely not. Even in the US, the place where you think it would be, super established. And this is Q3 of this year. This is after a year of, work from home.
Lockdown, work from home. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's stunning to me. It really is stunning.
It's interesting. You talk about I've never heard that stat. So 13% of all commerce is online, which seems like a really low number. I'd be interested to hear or see stats around specifically like e-commerce in the sense around like holiday shopping, because I know I heard, and I haven't heard this year, but last year for in around Christmas and the holiday season, people were like, oh, I did all of my shopping online, right? So it'd be interesting to see, I was actually at the mall just a couple of days ago, and it was, arguably it's December, right? Early December. You'd think it'd be madhouse, right? Like years past.
Right.
Obviously, there's a bit of a pandemic. Obviously, there's things happening, but people, I think, are more and more shopping online. So definitely all these digital, whether it's environments, you talk about now the metaverse. I think there's going to be, do you want to get into that? Are you
I'd
up
love
on
to.
Crypto, metaverse,
I'm up on
Web3,
it,
stuff
man.
like that? Okay. So I think it'd be interesting if there was like metaverse versions of malls where you've got, essentially your avatar walking through the mall, and you can engage with people and different things. Maybe we should come up with a metaverse app called Malls, and basically you just buy plots of land on like Decentraland and the Sandbox and all these various metaverse projects. So, but yeah, I think that might be. So I don't know. Let's just. I'm gonna stop my rant. where are your thoughts on where Web3 then goes, or crypto and how it sparks Web3 and the metaverse?
Yeah, so my thoughts are, and it's super interesting you mentioned these metaverse malls. I was having a conversation with someone earlier today about, could you be a landlord in the metaverse? So in general, I'm long crypto broadly. I think it's here to stay. I think, when one of the world's most wealthy men and one of the world's largest tech companies literally rebrands itself in this name, they're going to be spending billions and billions of dollars to make this a reality. Whether or not it ends up, being great, yet to be seen. But I think we'll at least get there. Where I'm less into some of this crypto stuff, or I shouldn't say less into, what I think is missing from the conversation today is the fact that this is happening under the backdrop of a pandemic, right? And everyone's talking about how young people are obsessed with this. This is the next big thing. Look at all these young developers. They're throwing themselves into this. Young people are buying, NBA Top Shot instead of sports cards. Well, there's a huge incentive to go towards escapism right now. The world is not very great, especially for young people, or hasn't been particularly great in terms of their normal life experiences. And so I don't necessarily believe in crypto valuations as much. And I'm, as we're speaking, crypto has just been, plummeting the last week or two. So we are seeing a bit of a correction here. But yeah, overall, I think it is here to stay. I think Web3, is very, very interesting. There are some use cases that are completely nonsense, and there are some use cases that I think will be here to stay. I'm a huge art guy. You see a couple of my pieces in the back. I really like NFTs from a fractionalization of art perspective.
Ownership,
you talk about backers fractionalizing ownership in some of these early stage startups. Art is another potential asset class that, there's someone who's fractionalizing a Banksy. Ownership in a Banksy was just not within reach of 99.99% of the population, right? If I wanted a Banksy hanging beside me, I'd have to be in a completely different sphere financially. But now, for $1,500, I can say, hey, I own a piece of an iconic, Banksy work. So it's that kind of stuff is super exciting, and the idea that, again, with DAOs, which are
decentralized autonomous organizations.
Yeah, decentralized autonomous organizations that basically allow people to create governance structures using crypto. That could disrupt so much, right? You talk about just how government works today. That kind of thing could restore a lot of trust in institutions too. That's what I think the promise of crypto is. I don't see crypto as, hey, we're going to disrupt, the Federal Reserve, and we're going to take over, the financial system. I don't think that's the dream of crypto. I think the dream of crypto is to add and to continue to build what we have today. And the most exciting use cases are, kind of real world focused. It's, hey, I have thousands of sports cards. This is a buddy of mine, literally has thousands of sports cards. He moves, $10 million worth of sports cards a year. And putting it all on a blockchain in a wallet is actually significantly better for him, because maintaining an inventory of thousands of physical cards becomes quite difficult. And so that's a real practical use case for him. And, it's a piece of cardboard versus a JPEG. It's not really, people say, oh, it's just a JPEG, I'll right click, save as. Well, a sports card is just a piece of cardboard with, a player's picture on it. So there's lots of great, fantastic use cases. My favorite one is probably gaming. I don't know if you have a favorite Web3 use case or project at the moment, but I can't wait for cross-platform NFTs in gaming, where, I'm playing a EA game and I unlock a jersey patch as an NFT, and I can put it on my hockey team, and also I can put it on my soccer team, my basketball team, all of my EA games. That kind of stuff becomes exciting. That's not something that we really have today.
It's interesting. So I mean, with just kind of with backers, I mean, NFTs are definitely the next step. So we obviously are able to tokenize shares, securities in the various companies or units in a fund from a very much a financial perspective. But then the next step is non-fungible or NFT tokens. NFTs is a non-fungible token where you're now tokenizing whether it's a JPEG you talked about, an image, or even MP3s, MP4s, audio and video files, different things. So I think, yeah, that's super cool. Sure. That's one use case, but there's definitely, you get into like identification, you get into like, so when you look at Web3, I think what crypto is going to facilitate is the autonomousness or the verifiability, if that's a word, I just made it up, of a user in that one-to-one transactions, where you've got this immutable transactional ledger where you can store all of the the interactions, but now you can know who the participants are and verify them, right? And so I think that's a huge case for blockchain as well. I very much, I've got some ideas of things that we'll probably build out over the next few years once the backers platform's up and running. The 3HL is one of them. It's a 3-on-3 hockey league, but I think another one is around video or streaming, content streaming, and bandwidth. So using your bandwidth on your devices, and then you got IoT, Internet of Things, with 5G technology, where now everything can be a device, and every device can be connected in sort of a mesh network, and you can create almost like a free streaming, at least video streaming application, so everyone can stream video
very cool.
and content for free, using cool. Very minimal amount of nodes and using blockchain. So those are some things. Our idea around that is called Water, would be the name of it.
That's neat.
Also, yeah, that's the. And the other one
it sounds. Yeah. I was going to say it sounds very technical, but that's what I love about blockchain. It's going to revolutionize some of this stuff. On identity, saw a fantastic, we talk about real world examples, saw a fantastic supper club that I believe Gary Vee is doing in New York, but you basically need to own an NFT. They did an NFT drop, and you need to own one of the NFTs to be a member of this. Yeah.
Well, that's like that Great Apes or whatever it's called. And then the Ape Yacht Club, right? That's the whole
Bored
thing.
Ape Yacht Club.
Bored Ape Yacht, Bored Ape Yacht Club, and now they just bought the Baby Ape Club or something like that as well. So those are going to pump. So we'll see how that happens.
Yeah. Here's the naysayers, take, is that the only way you make money on this is if someone buys this from you for more money than what you paid for it, right? It doesn't have any, this is Bored Ape Yacht Club specifically, right? Yeah. A membership to a nice restaurant is different. There's more utility there. But a JPEG of an ape that, I'm into art, I don't see the artistic value there personally. I think there's a lot of artists who did that sort of thing before, who were recognized for it, and this is more just flash in the pan type stuff. I mean, this feels a lot like adult Beanie Babies to me, where it's kind of, this is cool right now. Young people will not find this cool because it's what the old people found cool. It's that typical cycle where eventually this is just going to peter out. It's not, a restaurant serving, great sushi, or, a fantastic solution around streaming, right? Those kinds of use cases have actual utility.
Yeah. You want to know something really crazy?
Always.
Okay. So all this. So literally while we were on this call, so I'll preface this. This is my first time I've ever done this, actually. So yesterday, I've been watching it for a bit. So this is this platform called Theta. They're a blockchain-based company. They do media streaming, different things. They created this new thing called Theta Drop, where essentially they can use their blockchain to mint NFTs. They just, and I gotta say it a little quietly because so Katy Perry had a drop of 2,500 NFTs on their platform at 4 p.m. today. And so I joined the wait list about a day or so ago and paid the $100 to buy one of the 2,500. And turns out at 4 o'clock, I officially got one of the, so I just bought my very first NFT while we're on this call. Speaking of
history
NFTs,
made.
History made. So The irony
your
though
name?
of this is that my son, who's sort of listening, but I saw it because his name's Rory, and this is the something about roar.
Right.
So when he was born, that song was popular in 2015, 2016. So we used to joke, "You're gonna hear me, Rory." So we've like always, that's like always been his song. So long story
Cute.
short, I put the money in. It was $100 to buy the NFT. Who knows if
Yeah.
it goes up or down? I'm gonna give it to him for Christmas as
That's
an
cute.
NFT related sort of to his name, Katy Perry. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows
I-
where the value goes with it? But it's limited edition. Their very
Yeah.
first basically drop on what might be one of the
Huge.
players in the NFT space long term, right? So anyways, just thought
Yeah.
that was a tip. I
That-
kind of looked because it was 4 o'clock and it's 4:30 now. So yeah,
No,
so I got one.
all good. No, I think that's super cool, man. I think that's super cool. Just the act of going on, making a wallet, doing a transaction, you learn so much just
Yeah.
undergoing that, right? So
Definitely. Awesome. Well, Shaunvir, I really appreciate you joining me. I know we've taken probably about 40 minutes longer than we initially anticipated, but great talking with you as always. We should do this more regularly, actually. Maybe we should do a weekly show, you and I, talking about entrepreneurs and different things, and maybe we can assess. I don't know, we could assess ideas. Well, like what's in the news, and it's S&J, what's in the news today kind of thing or something. I don't know. Just it'd be interesting because I think you've got a lot of insight into different businesses and ideas and ventures and experience in that. So we'll talk about it offline, whatever.
I always love chatting, man. I always love chatting with you. Always up for more chatting. So let's do it.
Awesome. Cool. Shaunvir, thank you very much again for joining me. Everyone else, this is One Take, powered by backers. Justin Fox, Shaunvir, Sidhu. Shaunvir, take care. Oh, you know what? We didn't talk about your green wall. Why is it dark green? Just quickly, give us the
wall. The wall's green. The rest of the house really light and airy. Where we tried to make the office feel like a completely separate space from the rest of the house.
Right. And just all the people out there, you live in a purpose-built or custom-built. I called it a log cabin. It's not a log home in sort of I wouldn't say northern Ontario, but slightly outside of the city. So that's cool. So awesome. Well, anyway, Shaunvir, appreciate it. Everyone else, I'll see you guys again very soon. Take care. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Shaunvir. Talk soon, okay?
Thanks, man.
Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers. Right?
No judging.
Yeah.
No judging.
The millennials are really changing that.
Is charm. No.
All success begins with desire.
I feel like I'm on fire right now.
OMG, baby.